Yeah, welcome to video lectures of Java programming. So in this particular video, we are going to be talking about control statements, typecasting and type conversion and casting. So first we'll talk about the lecture outcome, then control statements, then type conversion and casting. Then we'll see some reflections part, then few lecture level practice problems. So the outcome of this particular video is you're supposed to, after completing this particular video, you know how to use the control statements in developing the applications, and you will know the necessity of the type conversions. So Java control flow statements. So generally, while programming, if you want to execute the statements in a sequential manner, so not only in Java programming language, every programming language the compiler executes the code from top to bottom. The statements in the code are executed according to the order in which they appear. So, however, the Java provides statements that can be used to control the flow of Java state, Java code, and such statements we'll call it as control flow statements. So Java provides three types of control flow statements, that is decision-making statements, loop statements, and a switch statement, break and continue statement. Already all these statements you are familiar in C and C++. So first we'll talk about decision-making statements. So this, with the help of these statements, you are going to be decide which statement is to execute and when to execute. And these statements evaluate the Boolean expression and also control the program flow depending upon the result of the condition provided. So we have two types of decision-making statements in Java, that is if statement as well as switch statement. So already you know if statement means again will consist of three things here: if statement, simple if statement, else if statement, and nested if statement. Nested if statement. Okay. Simple if statement, if the statement is true, then whatever the statements are there within that if condition, it is going to be executed. If else statement, if the condition is true, if statements will execute. If the condition is false, else statements will execute. And else nested if else means if else within another if else, we'll call it as nested if else, or we can also call it as else if ladder. So these are the three if statements we are going to be used in Java, and these statements we are familiar in C and C++. Okay, and we have also used in data structures. So next we'll start about switch statement. This is one of the very important feature in all the programming languages. Okay, so this switch statement is similar to if else if statements. Okay, so this switch statement contains multiple blocks of code called cases. We'll call those as a cases, and a single case will execute based upon the variable which is going to be switched. Okay, based upon this expression, these values are going to be execute. And switch statement is easier to use instead of nested if else, and it also increase the readability of the program. So whenever you are using this nested if else, so we'll get some confusion because of those open braces and close braces. When you are using nested if else, if you are not closing the condition properly, it is going to throw you an exception. But whereas you come to the switch statement, we are removing that particular problem, and it enhances the readability of the code. So the case variables can be whatever the variables we are using for this particular cases. It can be int type, short type, byte, or char, or enum, or it also supports string. So this string will support from version 7. Okay, so before version 7, the uh, string is not used as a value of this case variable, and cases cannot be duplicate, and you should not use same value for different cases. And if all the cases are does not match, the default statement is going to be executed. So for every case we'll have a break statement. So this is an optional. If you put this particular statement, it is going to execute this and it will come out of the switch statement. If you are not keeping this, automatically it is going to execute second statement. While using switch statement, we must notice that the case expression will be of the same type as the variable. So whatever expression you are using here, And this expression data type and variable we are using that data type should be same. Okay, and this is the syntax of switch statement. So based upon this expression is compared with these values. If the values are not equal, the default statement is going to be execute. And next, coming to one of the very important, that is loop statements. So in all the programming languages, loop statements will support. So why we'll use this particular loop statement means if I want to execute a statement for multiple number of times, we are going to use this loop statements. Okay. So in Java, we have three types of loops, that is for loop, while loop, and do while loop. So for loop, while loop, do while loop, already we are familiar, but in Java, it also supports for each loop. Okay. So what is the use of this for each loop means if you want to visit each and every element in the array. Okay. Array consists of group of elements, okay, of same type. If you want to visit that particular each and every element in the array, if you are using simple for loop, what happens? We have to iterate step by step. We have to take some variable, and from with the help of that variable, we have to iterate each and every. But whereas you come to the for each, by using colon directly, we can visit each and every variable in the array. Okay. So coming to this while loop and do while loop, already you are familiar. While loop is an entry control loop. Do while loop is an exit control loop. The minimum number of iterations will be 0 for this. The minimum number of iterations will be 1 for this. Okay, so sir, in what situations we have to use while loop and in what situations we have to use for loop means if you know the number of iterations, we have to use for loop. If you don't know the number of iterations, we have to use while loop. Okay. And next, very important is break and continue statements. This also helps uh, in developing the applications. So the break statement is used to break the current flow of the program. And this break statement is used only within the loops. Okay. So if you are using inner loop, if you are using this particular break in the inner loop, only it will come out from the inner loop. Okay. And next, continue statement is does not break the loop, whereas it skips only the specific part of the loop. Again, it will jump to the next iteration. So this is the difference between break and continue. Okay. So few programs you can practice. Okay. Write a program to print sum of digits of a given number and write a program to print Pascal strand. Right. So further, you just refer the complete reference book. Okay. And I'll post weekly tutorial sheet on codes. Thank you guys.